Tonight on Q2, property tax problems.
We're approaching this from both chambers, and at this point it's a little hard to predict what the final outcome is going to be.
With taxes and frustrations on the rise, the Montana legislature races to help Montanans before it's too late. Plus, targeting Colorado gun companies.
The entire business environment is really hard here in Colorado.
As tighter gun restrictions take hold in that state, Governor Gianforte is cold calling to get more manufacturing to Montana.
It's so easy for a gun to fire and a life to be taken. And
summer on the way, crews begin work on the iconic Beartooth Highway. We'll show you the job at hand and the progress already made. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. It's the race to the finish at the Montana legislature with just 10 working days left in this 69th session, and property tax relief is still one of the biggest open questions, not only for lawmakers but all Montanans. Tonight, MTN's Jonathan Ambarian provides a clearer picture of what a final plan could look like as two major proposals move forward.
On Tuesday evening, the House and Senate each spent well over an hour debating a bill for property tax reform. Both bills passed initial votes, and as currently written, they have several differences but share an underlying structure.
I think we're getting to a spot where we've got a product that the vast majority of the legislature can agree on.
The House voted 80-20 Tuesday evening to advance Senate Bill 524, which House Majority Leader Steve Fitzpatrick called the flagship bill. Meanwhile, the Senate narrowly endorsed House Bill 231 on a 26-24 vote, after initially voting it down last week.
We're approaching this from both chambers, and at this point it's a little hard to predict what the final outcome is going to be.
Both bills now introduce homestead tax rates that would give a tax advantage to Montanans' primary residences, long-term rentals, and small commercial properties. And both have a one-time rebate of up to $400 for this year. But there are differences. SB 542 would institute a different rate system for the first year because it might be too late to get homestead rates in place this year. It can be difficult to analyze exactly how a property tax bill would affect an individual property owner. Each type of property has a tax rate. That rate multiplied by the property's assessed value is the taxable value, and the taxable value multiplied by the mill rate gives the annual tax. If a bill reduces the tax rate, local governments might adjust their mills to keep their revenue steady. So cutting the residential rate in half doesn't necessarily translate to a 50% cut in taxes. Fitzpatrick said a Department of Revenue model estimated the homestead rates could lead to around a 30% tax reduction for an average Montanan's primary home. But they would shift some of the tax burden to other types of property. Groups led by the Montana Chamber of Commerce sent a letter to lawmakers expressing concern about how SB 542 would affect businesses, farms, and ranches. But supporters of these bills say some of those taxpayers saw their property taxes fall in recent years. SB 542 and HB 231 will each need to pass a final vote in their current chamber before going over to the other. If that chamber votes to accept the current version, the bill could be on its way to the governor fast. If not, there'll have to be a conference committee to sort out the differences. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
A bill to make school lunches free for low-income families has passed a big hurdle at the Montana legislature. House Bill 551 would set aside $600,000 in the state budget to cover the co-payment for families who qualify for reduced meals under federal guidelines. The bill passed a third reading on the Senate floor and was sent forward. More than 45% of Montana public school students are eligible for free or reduced price school meals. Governor Greg Gianforte is actively recruiting more gun manufacturers to move to Montana. This after Colorado recently enacted tighter gun laws restricting firearm businesses in the state. The governor is now cold calling some of those companies, hoping to entice them to move here. Tonight, our Matt Carmack dives deeper into his plan, one that also has some critics.
My question for you is simple. Do you want to move back to America?
The message couldn't be more clear. Montana is open for business, specifically firearms manufacturers discouraged by new sweeping gun laws in Colorado.
It's going to be devastating to our industry in general.
Michael Meyer is the CEO of M&M Industries, a gun manufacturer now considering a move to Montana after receiving a call from Governor Greg Gianforte, and he's not alone.
It's a nice touch. I mean, it's nice to know that somebody would actually want your legal, profitable business in their state.
Both Colorado gun manufacturers are outraged by Senate Bill 3, one of the most restrictive gun regulations ever adopted in that state. The bill would ban the manufacture of certain firearms in Colorado and drastically restrict sales.
It makes no sense to be punishing us, the actual manufacturers of the products, over the end use of something that somebody was careless on.
This has just been a long line of anti-firearms bills, anti-business bills, the tax situation.
But not all Montanans were on board for that decision. Like Ion Young, a local lead for the national organization Moms Demand Action.
Assault weapons are exceptionally powerful, dangerous, deadly weapons, and they shoot more bullets at a faster rate than a manual action rifle.
Young supports legislation like Senate Bill 3, which is aimed at reducing mass shootings and saving lives. The bill prohibits guns with detachable ammunition magazines.
I can imagine that they are disappointed. Absolutely, I understand that about their business. They cannot manufacture assault weapons in Colorado, but they can still manufacture other weapons.
But for gun manufacturing companies like M&M Industries or Phoenix Weaponry, the new law is enough to motivate them to move, calling Governor Gianforte's invitation the icing on the cake.
Come on home to America, right here in Montana.
So we're trying to find a good home, someplace that we're not being put out of business constantly.
In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
The Montana Highway Patrol is trying to identify the driver of a truck that destroyed a mailbox Saturday evening. This mailbox had stood for nearly 25 years before a pickup truck slammed into it around 7 o'clock Saturday on Bluegrass Drive West. The owner, Bill Duke, says it appears the driver was on the wrong side of the road when they went around the cul-de-sac and straight into the mailbox. Well, the damage will be costly. Duke is more worried this could have been worse as a lot of people walk in that area.
And he high-centered on some of these larger stones that we had around for decoration, or I think he would have kept right on going. But it's amazing to me, the structure that was there, that should have destroyed his truck.
Troopers are looking for a green Ford F-150 long box from around 1994. Duke says it probably has a lot of damage on the hood and front end. Well, a true sign that summer is near. Crews have begun the plowing on the Beartooth Highway as they look to get it ready for opening day. This is video from a snowcat. As you can tell, there's a lot of work still to be done. The projected opening date is the Friday of Memorial Day, but as always, that's dependent upon the weather. And with a first look at the weather now on this Wednesday, here's Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Big thank you to Marcus Boyer for getting this time lapse this evening. Some of the great colors, and you see the clouds, some of the wind shifting in. Temperatures this afternoon made it up to 51, a little cooler than average, even though we started off at 37 degrees, close to the 30-year typical reading for this time of the year. Top winds at only 23 miles per hour. But things are getting a little more active this evening. Showers, we're starting to see some higher elevation snow here. And as we make it through the evening and overnight tonight, some of these showers will continue to develop. Our real target area is going to be basically on this line from around Livingston, Billings over towards Miles City into the southeastern corner of the state. More rain and snow on the way after that. We'll talk about the forecast details.
Montana's school board elections are now just under 2 weeks away, with school districts across the state facing budget shortfalls, including here in Yellowstone County. Voters will be deciding the fate of several bonds and levies. That includes at Elysian, where student safety and security are front and center. They're proposing $120,000 in a levy for the Building Reserve Fund. That would increase taxes by around $14 a year on a $300,000 home. But Superintendent Luke Shelton says the upgrades on a 10-year-old security system are desperately needed.
Community bless us each day with their most prized possessions, and it's up to us to make sure that they are kept safe. Galician has a good track record of running levees, bonds when it is actually something that is needed, and so I hope our community sees that.
Meanwhile, Laurel is presenting 6 levies covering everything from school safety to maintenance and needs to staffing. That city has not passed a general fund levy in nearly 18 years, but Superintendent Matt Torix worries cuts could be near if these aren't passed.
Very aware of kind of the tax weariness that is Montana right now, and we only ask for things that we need.
Well, here in Billings, 2 school board seats are up for grabs in School District 2, while Canyon Creek is asking for more than $84,000 to offset learning costs, salaries, and operations. Elder Grove is asking for $459,000 to purchase curriculum and hire and retain staff there. Well, today was cleanup day at Billings Senior. Keep Senior Beautiful started 5 years ago, and students kept that tradition going tonight.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yep. Thank you.
Students picked up trash in the neighborhood from a fairly large area with a perimeter of Park Hill Drive, North 32nd Street, Lewis Avenue, and 8th Street West. According to the Student Council, this event started in 2021 when students couldn't have a prom during COVID. About 500 came out this evening to clean up the school and the neighborhood.
To see like all your peers and like kids you know, and kids like you're like, oh, that person's really quiet in my biology, but like they came to like be a part of it. It's really exciting, and it makes me grateful to be a part of a community like this.
Dynamic young people, they're just leading the way with serving their community. There's a lot of excitement here, and we're just so happy to be here and support them.
Keep Senior Beautiful is an initiative of Bright and Beautiful and is a project for Seniors Student Council.